It's the beginning of April, and after weeks of really nice, warm, spring-like weather, it's cold and it's wet. Oh, and my neighbour is also burning something that absolutely stinks and is making the back of my throat think that I smoke 40 packs a day. So I guess it means it's time for me to give you another slightly sarcastic update on this. Okay, so my introduction was a little jokey, but honestly, I do feel this horrible gravelly feeling in the back of my throat. So I'll try and keep this video as short as I ever can do, which means probably about 35 minutes. That was just me pausing for you to activate the 2x speed playback option. Anyway, this is my Charge Station Pro. One of two Charge Station Pros that I own. One of two broken Charge Station Pros that I own. See, when I got my original F-150 Lightning, I got a Charge Station Pro for free with the truck. That was standard at the time in 2022. If you bought a range extended version of the F-150 Lightning, you got a free Charge Station Pro. They got rid of that around 2023 and replaced it with a voucher program. In 2024, I don't believe it was a standard item anymore, apart from the higher trims. And there's a very good reason for that. And that was because this charging station can supply up to 20 kilowatts to your F-150 Lightning to charge it. That means that I can charge the 131-ish kilowatt hour battery in my truck from empty to full in about 8 hours, which is pretty good considering its size. And if I was charging it from a standard 6 or 10 kilowatt charging station, it would take a lot longer. Now in 2024, Ford removed the dual charger option that used to be standard on the extended range F-150 Lightnings. And so if you have a 2024 or newer F-150 Lightning, regardless of the trim level, regardless of the battery pack capacity, your vehicle will only charge at 10 kilowatts, which is a half of the speed of my truck. And so fewer people bought these, fewer people got them for free. And this is very much the ugly duckling of Ford's EV charging setup. And I say that because while it has a Ford logo on it, it's actually made by Siemens. And to call it a bit of a Friday afternoon job would be kind. This unit has been so unreliable. Now, behind me is the Delta-based Ford Charge Station Pro home integration system. Again, it's marketed as the Ford home integration system, but it's actually Delta hardware. There's a bit here, that's the transfer box, and there are some other bits and bobs behind me. They have been rock solid, and the units from that system are the same units that were put on my house in 2022. This, however, is like the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, or I really have forgotten how many times we've had to replace this bloody thing, because this is the weakest link. Goodbye. And the reason it's the weakest link is because it drops off the Wi-Fi. It doesn't connect to your home Wi-Fi, and then if you reset it, it's supposed to bring up an ad hoc Wi-Fi network that you can then use to configure the app and get it online again. But I, as many other Ford F-150 Lightning owners are discovering, cannot get this to come back online. It won't. When you do a factory reset, it won't come back on. It won't put up a wireless network, which means you can't configure it. And if you do a factory reset, if you have previously paired it with your F-150 Lightning for use with a home integration system, well, you can kiss your hopes and dreams goodbye, because the truck and the charging station no longer properly talk to one another. And that means that you can't back your home up in a power cut. And it's off the basis of that experience that Ford sent someone to my house today, all the way from Detroit, to try and figure out what is wrong with this. Unlike previous visits where they sent someone out to replace the unit and then get it running again, they actually sent someone out this time to look at it, try and figure out if there was something that I had done wrong in the installation process, and to see if they could get it to go online. And after, a couple of hours of trying in very cold weather, and you can see there is, my breath there is visible, so you can see how cold it is. They gave up and they said, yep, you're right, we're going to send you a new one. Now, I'm kind of getting fed up with this, and I know that many F-150 Lightning owners are as well, and it feels like Ford has really dropped the ball on this one. Every F-150 Lightning owner that I speak to absolutely loves their truck, and everyone I've spoken to who has one of these absolutely hates these. And as we've talked about on previous videos, I believe that there is a very easy way of getting these working. If you plug in a USB to Ethernet dongle, the charging station will find your local network through Ethernet. It will show up on your local network, but you can't configure it using your Ethernet because there's a security lock on the charging station firmware that prevents you from doing that. And I brought this up today with the lovely chap who came out from Ford, who's in the management side of this particular product. And he said, yeah, I'm going to pass that detail on to the engineering team and see if we can do something about it. But other than me just complaining and making videos, I'm kind of a bit of a prisoner to my own charging station. And the smoke and the ash that has been falling around. Yeah, it's not snow. It's ash. Anyway, I want to give you another bit of an update with the truck because I know people have been asking. So why don't you meet me round at the side of the truck and I'll explain what I've discovered about my fog lamp install. So the last video that I made on this channel about this truck included me installing this, which is a replacement light control cluster that fits the F-150 Lightning, but was actually originally designed for the Ford Explorer, I believe. And I switched out this button so that I have my zone lighting control all taken care of. And this switch, unlike the original F-150 Lightning light control switch arrangement, actually has a front fog light switch and a rear fog light switch. Now, I jumped into 4Scan and did some reprogramming and got the front fog light to show the telltale on the dashboard, but I couldn't get the rear fog light telltale to work. And after doing some more research, perusing Bronco forums from owners of the Ford Bronco, I have come to the conclusion that the rear light switch only activates the telltale if the circuit inside the BCM, the body control module of this truck, actually detects a light connected to it. And so in order to test that theory, I'm going to have to go online and order some replacement pins that I will then use to connect a dummy load to the circuit to test this. Now, I want to do this before I go out and order some fancy rear fog lights, because red rear fog lights are really difficult to get hold of in the US and they're kind of expensive. And second, I want to make sure it's possible before I go to great lengths of buying extra stuff. So, you know, me buying some appropriate pins to remove the connector and put in some extra wires, that's not too much of a problem. But going one step further, going the full shebang, I'd really rather not do that unless I'm absolutely 100% sure that it will work. So I'm going to go and buy some parts from my local electronics supplier, and fingers crossed the price of them hasn't gone up between me initially looking and making the decision to purchase this week. And additionally, I am also going to be working on a new design here because I've also backed Lens Lizard on Kickstarter. For those who don't know, Lens Lizard is a special device that allows you to add a rear camera washer to pretty much any vehicle. There are very few vehicles that Lens Lizard doesn't work with. And what you do is you remove your license plate, you put the Lens Lizard frame on, which hides a little battery, a little reservoir, and a little spray motor. And then you put your license plate on top. And Lens Lizard comes with a remote control that works, I think, over Bluetooth, that allows you to press a button and you can just whack it on your dash and it will spray your reverse camera. Now, living where I do, there are lots of gravel tracks around here, lots of muddy roads. And so my rear camera does get kind of dirty pretty quickly. And so having something like a Lens Lizard, which is proven to work with an F-150 Lightning, by the way, will make it so much easier for me to keep my rear view camera clean. That's not only beneficial when backing up, which I have to do here at the house because our driveway is kind of a bit of a weird shape, but also when I'm in a busy parking lot or when I'm towing and I want to be able to see the rear of the vehicle a little bit more clearly. That lens lizard is going to help. And what I realized is that I still have the original button that came with this cluster, the one that was, I think, the tail, the hatch opening button. And I can put it here on this blank on the right hand side. And with a little bit of cleverness, I hope to wire up the lighting so that it illuminates at night. And then my goal is to print a special 3D cover for the switch so it looks like a standard Ford button, but it actually will operate the lens lizard in the rear of the vehicle. That is my hope at this time. I can't say for sure if I'm going to be able to do that, and as you know, ADHD, my brain, will come up with loads of cool ideas, and sometimes it will take a while for me to follow through with them. So please be patient with me on that particular one. However, other than that, this truck has been very reliable. We recently had a recall done on it, the parking brake recall. There was a software problem in which there was a risk that the parking crawl did not properly activate, which increases the risk of runaway. That was an official NHTSA recall, so I had the truck in last week to have that done. I also have another recall that must be done. That's the trailer module. That's not ready yet, so Ford said they're going to reach out to me and let me know, or rather the dealer will, when that software update is ready to go. And when I've got a few more pennies, I have decided I am going to go ahead and buy a Mongoose. The Mongoose is the device that allows you to connect to Ford servers and automatically apply your, not automatically, but apply your own software updates rather than wait for Ford to push over-the-air updates. Because here, up in the foothills of the Coast Range, along with the smoke that's making my eyes so itchy, we have terrible wireless network connectivity, which is what this truck uses for over-the-air software updates. So that's going to be something else that I'll be doing in the coming months. I also need to replace the tow hitch on my my big trailer, so if you want me to roll that into a video, let me know. Other than that, thanks for watching to the end. And thanks as well go to the amazing list of sponsors scrolling by either side of me right now. They are the reason that we are still here. As you know, TE is a very small company. There's only 3 of us now, myself, Vi and Erin, and we work really bloody hard, if I say so myself, every week to try and bring you important content that's not 35 minutes long, like this video is going to be. But if you'd like to support us from $1.50 a month on Patreon, I would really appreciate it. Don't forget too, you should go and support Kate Walton-Elliott in her new venture, in her new publishing company. She has been doing some really amazing things, so I'll make sure that I leave a link in the down below to that as well. Thanks for watching me. Thanks for being the positive change that we need to see in the world. And until next time, keep evolving. For the F-150 Lightning, sorry. A bit of ash.
I was wondering if you noticed that.
God, that was huge. God, what are they burning?
That was 1/64th of a Gatorade bottle.
All right, let's try again.